In today's video, I'm going to be discussing the State of the Union address and Social Security. What did he say? What is he going to do? Should we be scared, or should we maybe be getting a little bit excited? Those are all really good questions and exactly what I'm going to focus on for you right here in this video. Let's get into it and talk through all the details. Really fast before we do, I just want to point this out. I am not here taking political sides. I'm not siding with Biden, and I'm not siding against Biden either. I totally recognize everybody has their own beliefs politically, and that is totally fine. I am never here to tell anybody what to do or how to think. That's not my style. I don't really care. It doesn't matter. We all have our own beliefs, and that's totally okay. We are all entitled to that, and that's 100% totally fine. However, I am 100% a realist, and I like to look at things objectively as far as what is really happening, what was really said, not of subjectively either, okay? So anyway, I'm going to talk through the details here as far as what Biden said last night during the State of the Union address, and what did he say about Social Security, okay? Now here's the thing. Did you watch the State of the Union? I listened to 100% of it with all ears, and I was listening very closely to anything out there that we as Social Security or fixed income beneficiaries could possibly chew on a little bit. In other words, what is out there for us, right? What is he going to say about it? Now, about, 5 days or so ago, I was out in a separate video. I think it was last weekend, actually. I was out in a separate video, and I said, hey, let's listen up to the State of the Union. He will be saying something about Social Security. What it's going to be, I'm not quite sure, but there was speculation at the time, okay? Now, the State of the Union happened last night, so we know what President Biden said about Social Security. At least I heard it, okay? So if you did not watch it, let me just kind of recap what was going on here, which, by the way, I'm just going to digress for 1 second here. Again, I'm not bashing anybody. I just want to say a little point here. I thought it was called the State of the Union address, which, by the way, union referring to, the United States and all of us as the American people. To me, it seemed like a little bit more like state of every other country in the world address, talking about literally everybody else except for us. I don't know. That's just how I felt the whole time. As I was listening to this, by the way, it was about an hour and 20 minutes or so is how long this speech took. And a lot of the time I was just thinking, what about us? Hello, we're right here. We're right here in the United States. Please, maybe focus on us for a second. I don't know. Maybe not the whole world and every other country out there, but what about us right here in the homeland? I mean, seriously, right? I'm not sure if it was anybody else that felt that way, but for a lot of the speech, I just thought like, dude, what about us? We're right here in the U.S., okay? So anyway, sorry. Again, I'm not bashing him in particular. I'm just simply saying, like, I thought this was supposed to be about us, telling us about the state of our union, our country, and us here in this country as far as how we are doing as a whole, right? So again, I just want to point that out. To me, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I thought like, dude, we're like struggling a ton here. Like, let's focus on us for a second, okay? Anyway, sorry, I digress. I just throw that out there. I just it was just been really bothering me because I just feel like, dude, like focus on us for a minute, okay? Anyway, sorry. All right, so let's talk about the details here, okay? So at about the 40-minute mark, yes, 40 minutes in, give or take a little bit, I roughly looked at the clock when he started talking about it, which, by the way, this speech started 24 minutes late, okay? So just throwing that out there really fast, okay? So anyways, about 40 minutes into the speech, he finally talked about Social Security. I know, right? How long did he talk about Social Security? For about 1 minute. It was very, very brief. He only mentioned it very briefly, but basically he said this much. He's not going to allow, okay, this is not verbatim, by the way, but he essentially made it very clear that if anybody tries to cut Social Security, he's not going to allow it, okay? I just want to point this out really fast here. Nobody's trying to cut Social Security, okay? There's a lot of articles, there's a lot of headlines, there's a lot of information. In fact, I've talked about it before in other videos, whereas, some people continue to come out and say, oh, they're trying to cut Social Security. Nobody is trying to cut Social Security, okay? Please do not worry about that. It is not happening. No one is cutting Social Security. If anything, the only people that are going to cut Social Security is Social Security itself. Why? Because if nothing happens to Social Security, benefits will be cut by about 23 to 25%, okay? No politician in particular is trying to cut Social Security. Well, okay, maybe there's like one out there. I don't know who it would be. I'm just simply saying, just statistically, there's probably a couple. I don't know. But I'm just simply saying, nobody in general is trying to cut Social Security. Either party, nobody's trying to do it. So any policies out there that may be coming across to maybe, change Social Security, reform the program, stuff like that. First off, let's just say this much. He basically said in his about 1 minute talking about Social Security, he essentially said, if anybody tries to cut Social Security, he's not allowing it. Okay, well, I would hope that would happen with any president. I would hope that any president, regardless of affiliation with party, would come forward and say, hey, we're not going to cut Social Security, but rather we're going to make the program more efficient, more lean, and make sure that this program remains solvent for many more years into the future and continues to pay out promised benefits to beneficiaries for many more decades in the future. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a president, I'm not a politician, but I would say, to me, that's probably something I would say is like, hey, no cuts are going to happen to Social Security. I can promise you that. I'm not going to allow it. And next, we're going to do whatever we possibly can to make sure that beneficiaries get the promised benefits and get the benefits that they've worked for their entire lives. That's the whole purpose of Social Security, by the way, is to basically have them take money out of your paycheck every single pay period for basically your entire life, so you can maybe get a little bit of that money back during retirement and try to struggle through retirement. So again, basically, if it were up to me, I'd say, hey, let's work on this program. Let's figure out this program so that it works more efficiently, so that, I don't know, beneficiaries aren't like across the board, some doing very well, some struggling, barely keeping food on the table. I don't know. Let's maybe figure a plan out here, right? We've got how many hundreds of people in Congress between the Senate and the House of Representatives. Maybe all of them collectively could come together and come up with a good idea. Gee, I don't know. Let's use our brains for a second and think of something so we can actually make sure the program actually serves the beneficiaries rather than, let's just say it, screws the beneficiaries. I mean, let's just say it how it is, right? That's the problem that what actually goes on right now. There's a lot of people out there that are struggling. So, long story short, what did the president say in the State of the Union address about Social Security? I'm going to say this much. Basically nothing, okay? He said basically nothing in about a 1 minute period of time, talking about Social Security. At about the 40-minute mark is when he started talking about it, and that's about it. So in other words, this much. In going forward, okay? So going forward, he's basically said this much. If anything happens to Social Security, which, by the way, fill in the blank here, nothing is going to happen to Social Security, is basically what he said here. They're going to kick the can down the road on this thing for many more years, and that's not a good thing. I'm going to say this much. We want Social Security reform, okay? I know this might be an unpopular thing to say, but we want Social Security to be reformed. If we do not get reform to Social Security, you're going to have to kiss about 23 to 25% of your benefits gone in a matter of years here. That is not a working solution here. That is not the plan that we're looking for. We need an actionable plan here that actually reforms Social Security and changes it in a major way for the beneficiaries in a good way, not cutting benefits. If nothing is done to Social Security, benefits will be cut. So by the president coming out and saying he's going to do nothing to Social Security other than make sure it's not cut by politicians, here's the thing. Inaction on Social Security is also cutting benefits. Hello? Do we not know that or what? Okay, so I'm just simply saying, okay, again, I'm not taking sides here. I'm just being a realist about this situation. We've seen the reports. I read reports about this every single week. Reports that come out and say, hey, hello, we're raising the flags here. We're waving the white flag. We're going down. Somebody want to send us a life raft or something? I mean, wake up somebody, right? So that's the situation here, is that Social Security is in a bad financial situation. If nothing is done, that is the same as cutting benefits. We want something to happen here, okay? I know you might be thinking I'm nuts for saying that, but we want, if we don't get reform to Social Security, if we don't get changes to the program, at some point here, it's going to be too late. We're going to be in a bad situation if we don't get anything done to this program sooner than later. We still have a lot of time. We still have years, but the closer and closer we get to that deadline of insolvency, the harder and harder it's going to get, okay? It's going to be very, very difficult if we get closer and closer to that. The longer the longer the time frame that we have on this, the better off we're all going to be. Think about it this way, really, really fast. You're an analogy, okay? Think of a runway for an airplane, okay? The airplane's screaming down the runway at, I don't know, however fast they drive. I don't really know. But I'm just simply saying, it's going down. It has a mile to go. It has plenty of runway. Totally fine. It can probably take off, no problem whatsoever. Let's just say that it's screaming down the runway and it only has 300 feet left. Do you think that's a problem? Yeah. Either, dude, slam on the brakes or pull up. Do one of the two, because we've got a problem coming real fast here, okay? That's the same thing with Social Security here. The runway is still long enough right now. If we wait much longer, that runway is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. You got to take action, otherwise it's too late. Get my point here? It's the same thing with Social Security. So anyway, my point is, long story short, with the State of the Union address, or some people call it the SOTU, S-O-T-U, State of the Union address. Okay, I know. But anyway, long story short, he said basically nothing about it. And honestly, I'm a little disappointed. I'm just being real with you, okay? I'm totally disappointed. I thought he was going to say more than that. I was kind of looking for something to chew on here, something that we could kind of say like, hey, they might actually have something in this that'll be beneficial for the beneficiaries over the coming months, over the next year or so. He said basically nothing. That is not a good thing, okay? Politically, in an election year, I'm just going to say this much as well. Not a good move. He should have spent more time talking about Social Security, especially with so many people enrolled, over 71 million people on an election year. I mean, I'm just going to say this. He really should have talked that up. He really should have massaged that whole point on Social Security during that speech. I'm going to say this much. He kind of blew it. That's my opinion. Again, not taking sides against or with him. I'm just simply saying this is my critique on the State of the Union address and how I think he really should have spent more time on that, and he should have done it earlier in his speech, okay? That's just my opinion, and again, that's just my critique. Doesn't matter who would have been up there talking, okay? If it could have been me, I would have gone back and listened to my speech, and I could have said, man, I blew it there. I really sucked it up there. I should have done a better job talking about this. It doesn't matter who it would have been. I would have done the same thing for every single person, said, you could have done a better job. You could have focused on this. You could have done this for the people. You know what I mean? So it doesn't really matter. I'm just simply saying that's all I want to focus on. So long story short, that's where we're at here. But again, remember, it's just an address. It's just a raw speech. That's literally all it is. And everything's going to go back right back to where it was. Basically right now, today, nothing changed. You know what I mean? It's all, we're just right back to where we started. So just want to point that out for you really fast here, but that's all I have for you. I apologize. This video got to be a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, but I went off on a couple of rants there. I was on a roll and just had to go with it. So there you go. That's what I have for you. Please make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet. Totally free to do so. Share the rant rave here on this video with your friends, family, social media, with the share button right down below the video. Share this video. Otherwise, make sure to subscribe and go back and check out any of the other thousands and thousands of videos here on the channel, including the thousands of video library or those that I've hand selected for you down below in the description or at the top of the comment section, or those that you see on your screen right now. Check out one of those videos. And until next time, enjoy your day. Take care. Have a good one. And I'll catch you again later.